All right. Hey, Shalom.
Right, Shalom.
Shalom. Hey, first and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and as well as the men that taught them, and peace and blessings to all Joachim out there who pushing his word with truth and sincerity, and as well as to all you believers out there who believe in on the gospel. And this is a couple of brothers from the Great Millstone Houston camp. I'm the brother Quara Abad. And as always, we've got the beloved Elder Tazapah as well.
Khan, Shalom.
Khan. And they the Wadi Bashim Awashai for blessing us with another opportunity, and allowing us to, come forth and continue to prophesy, man. Provide this the needful information that'd be useful in the times that we in. As which is a lot of things to get into, entertainment, there's a lot of books to read, there's a lot of information to study, but is it going to be needful for this time that we in? And that's where prophecy separates itself, and that's the spirit Yahweh Shah was in Revelation 19 and 10. It says that the testimony of the Lord was the spirit of prophecy. This is what separates itself from everything, man. This is what's important, and these things got to happen. And this was what gives us, starting with our apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, the leg up on everybody else. Like I said in Isaiah 34, matter of fact, I get that real quick. Isaiah 34 and 16. Because we're in the times a lot of people about to start looking for the answers, and the Lord got us with them, so we're able to see through the so-called white man, his schemes, the smoke and mirrors, and ultimately see the end goal of what he's trying to do and warn people about it. Real quick, Isaiah 34 and 16. It says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. And that's the scriptures. It says, none of these shall fail. What is the these? That's the prophecies. All the things that's written in the past that said to come, and we just happen to live in the times that they are here. And it says none go fail. And that's how we know, like I forget his name, but he was on there for America talking about it ain't gonna be no CBDCs. We ain't gonna do that. Right. And in the comment section, it was like, yeah, we shouldn't, but it's like they got to. We know y'all have to. Y'all have to go that route according to prophecy. So it
Trump
says,
said the
none of
same
these
thing.
shall fail. What'd you say?
Trump said the same thing.
Mm,
In his campaign speeches, no CBDCs. And the whole time he knew they was going to implement it. That well, he was going to be the man to do it. But you got it.
Yep. And accelerating too. It says, Isaiah 34
Um,
and 16 again, it says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, none of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. You can't compare no other book to the Bible. This is the book that tell us the past, the present, and the things to come in the future. No other book can do that. It says, for my mouth it have commanded, and his spirit it have gathered them, man. But before we hop into it, Elder Tazapah, you had anything?
yes,
You
sir.
want to
Just
add
to
on?
go with yes, sir. The scripture you mentioned. All right, we got to go to that because that's what makes this book unmateable. That's what makes this book special. That's what makes this book divinely unique. Okay, this is Revelation chapter 19, verse 10. And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Worship Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. Only book in the world, the only book in the world ever, all right, at any point in time that contain prophecy is right here in my hand. All right, that's what makes this book special and unique. This is the testimony of Yahweh Shai, the spirit of prophecy. You don't get that. And I don't care what book you the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. It ain't got it. The Egyptian Book of the Dead, whatever you want to name. Okay. And just one more, a little bit more on the book. This is, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 7. Then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me to do thy will, O Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. And this Yahweh Shai speaking. All right. So he comes in the volume of the book because it's his testimony, which is the spirit of prophecy, which is the spirit that the righteous are going to be in. All right. We covet to prophesy. That's Paul stated. But that was it.
And that's it. And so we'll hop into it. And Shalom, you know, Tala Akim Akwath that's tuning in. Yahweh Shemal Shabrakatham. And I get this one real quick. The brother in his likeness, Shalom, bro. It says Malachi 3:6. It says, then they that feared the Lord spoke often one to another, and the Lord hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before them that feared the Lord and that thought upon his name. That's it. You know, and that's these daily epistles. You know, you got epistles, but digital epistles, you know, constantly updating, so on and so forth. But we'll hop into it. And as you see from the title, it says Thursday Live, wars, disruptions, and hard times will accelerate the digital system, you know. And it's a lot of things that's going on to where people think it's natural or it's just, you know, the way of life. No, it's engineered. A lot of these things that we see are engineered by the so-called white man to force his what he think is his will on the earth. You know, what really the Lord letting them and making them do it. But we about to start seeing like it's saying 2 Ezra 16, a woman in travail, many different things as far as contractions. But let's start with this real quick. You know, and as we go on, we got a couple videos we'll play to show.
This is
to show that pretty much America back against the wall, you know, and they don't like it. And they don't like it. So what they eventually go do is start forcing things in the earth, and that's going to bring even more disruptions. But let's hop into it. This is End Time Headlines. First one, this was put out June 3rd. So yesterday, it says experts fear Godzilla El Nino will be strongest on record and cause widespread devastation. Right? It says, and it's talking about the weather. So it says, according to a report from the Telegraph, the world could be on the brink of a powerful Godzilla-like El Nino weather pattern that threatens to trigger widespread extreme weather, economic disruptions, and political instability. And that's on top of what's already been going on. And the Strait of Hormuz still closed. It says forecasters are closely monitoring the development of this rare and intense event in the Pacific Ocean, with early indicators suggesting it could rank among the strongest on record. The phenomenon, which involves significant warming of sea surface temperatures, is expected to influence global weather systems dramatically in the coming months and into 2027. And remember, Esau said they gonna and that's part of the lesson, but even more accelerate this system, AI singularity going into 2027. It says and experts have raised alarms about the potential for devastating impacts across multiple continents. Droughts could grip regions in Asia and Australia, while heavy flooding and storms might batter parts of South America. These shifts often lead to crop failures, food shortages, and billions in economic damage. So let's look out for that, and let's hope the Lord, you know, do something with that situation, you know, in the coming weeks, months. And the weather already crazy, man. Other times I was talking before this, especially out here in Houston. You know, is already doing things. Remember that time out of nowhere, the wind blew so hard, like out of nowhere for 15 minutes, and it just stopped. It was blowing so hard it bust some glass on them skyscrapers downtown. You know, it was knocking over trees and poles, and it just stopped.
Yeah, I believe that's when my fence got knocked down.
Yep, that was that time.
Yeah. I think so. But yeah, and that's, you know, El Nino is El Diablo. All right, but this is the Most High's judgment. Okay, now I'm gonna read this right quick because this is going into that. Well, what you brought out is going into Jacob's trouble. All right, this is Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. All right, and so it's a time like never before. Well, none has ever been like the time that's coming. All right, and so the Heavenly Father is using this devil on the left hand side to bring a lot of this about. All right. So they're going to use storms. That's how they, like you mentioned, eminent domain, another method they use, like they used up in the Carolinas, is these storms to uproot people from their homes. So get ready to see that, because this is them about to fill their belly, like we went into last week. So, right, that El Nino is a warning. All right. They getting ready to use the harp and the dew and all of this. All right, that's a warning. So this is how these devils, this their MO. They put something out there in the news, a small article, a little segment on CNN, or a little flash across the ticker. You got to read them tickers, and they'll forecast what they're going to do, because that's how their magic, so-called, works. All right, it's a spiritual protocol that they have to follow to bring these things to fruition without accountability. And that's what the reason they do that is to escape accountability. All right, just like we come out and prophesy to get the people blood off of our hands, so they look at it as, well, we told them and they didn't do nothing about it. All right, and them telling us again is a little small segment or an article like this. But see, they'll do that knowing that you'll read it and think it's some natural phenomenon that's happening in the world, in the earth. But no, they're getting ready to pinpoint tornadoes and steer hurricanes where they want them to go, so they can start removing people from their lands. But that was it.
I got a quick one. This Isaiah 29:6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and a flame of devouring fire. You know, so just to show that's judgments, but it's ultimately from the Lord. And it's going to take part in some of these events, like the other just said. So Esau can knock out people's homes, and that could be a new spot for a data center.
Yeah, we already see the MO. They send in FEMA. FEMA shut everything off. No entry. Huh? No entry? I need to go check my stuff. You know, but us, we know the scriptures say don't go back to get your stuff. But yeah, FEMA come in and they set up a perimeter and shut everything down. And that's it. But go ahead, brother.
So we're gonna play some of this videos a good little bit. We got a couple minutes. We'll play now. The title is Economic Depression. Worse than CV19 is coming, and America is not ready. Right now, this was put on redacted from 5 days ago. So we're gonna go ahead and let it play. And what he's gonna talk about is how first America have been made weak as far as militarily. We know they still got power, but as far as interceptors go, you know, they've been so proud helping everybody else. They turn into Oprah. You get interceptor missiles. You get some, and Ukraine and the small heads, y'all get some, and now they depleted their stock. And one way to build that back up, we know America, they ain't got no engineers like that no more, you know, scientists like that, right? But the thing is, they need rare and natural minerals, and they don't have that. The enemies got it. So now seeing America back against the wall, what you think they're gonna do? They're gonna have to force something in the earth. And his ultimate point is now we're gonna eventually see false flags, economic disruptions, and many things to bring on this system that they need. since they power of the old system, the dollar is falling, man. Let me
And
know if you
that
got some
could,
Zaquan as it's playing. You got it.
now that could be, you saying the false flag because Congress just shut down the whole Iran shit. I sent the video last night to the chat, but they voted to basically stop Trump War Powers Act. And I would have to go back and see the video, but basically Trump gonna have to do something, or either leave the whole Iran situation alone. And we know by prophecy that can't happen. So yeah, his hand is gonna have to be forced, and it could come out in a false flag, you know. But yeah, that's something that just happened, I believe, either yesterday or the day before. And and this is them trying to heal Babylon, trying to put, some balm for her pain. They say, the economy getting out of hand and we need the straits back opened up. So they doing it because of that. But no, it's too far, the die is cast. And this gotta be played or seen through. But go ahead, brother. Yeah, that could be a very, very real scenario. You got it.
The United States blew through all of these weapon systems. And so when you see these pauses that we currently see, or a 60-day extension and all of this,
yeah,
the United States blew through all of these weapon systems. And so when you see these pauses that we currently see, or a 60-day extension and all of this,
yeah,
I mean, what? And we're going to go back to fighting with what? And you have Senator Blumenthal in the middle of Ukraine today saying that we've got your back. In what format? We don't have the weapons to send to Ukraine. What do we have?
Well, I'll start at the back first. The Ukraine thing, we are not going to have their back. If there's any silver lining in any of this, it's that we've blown through so many systems so quickly that are really, I mean, they say 5 or more years. I would say these systems are irreplaceable because I responded to Sagar, our mutual friend, and I said that's the best case scenario. You need to have access to China's rare earth minerals in order for us to even begin replenishing these lost weapons. And guess what? China's not letting us gain access to what they're calling dual use rare earth minerals. So I don't actually think we're ever going to replenish these weapons in any meaningful way. So the silver lining here is that when it comes to Ukraine, the president has never fully bought into Biden's war there. He's sort of let it continue on, but he hasn't really gone full bore the way Biden did in Ukraine. And so I think he's already using this as an excuse behind the scenes, the president is, to justify not sending any more aid because we frankly can't send any more. We don't have anything left to give. In fact, you're seeing, with the exception of those 5,000 troops in Poland, which is more of a personal favor to the new president there, who's a Trump ally, the president is overseeing the dismantling of U.S. presence in Europe at this.
And if I want to add real quick, this is a part of what part of prophecy this is. Joel, the 3rd chapter. How he said, in a weak shall become strong now. A lot of America's enemies, they have the resources. They have the means to keep going to war. They have the allies and stuff. America, you not fighting the same battle you once did, after World War II, when you getting built up and becoming a power on the earth. And that's what everybody's starting to see. But I just want to kind of,
That's right. That's right. And they've been beating their plowshares and the swords and their pruning hooks and the spears. We seeing, myself personally, just recently finding out, Iran been preparing for this for 2 decades. They've been quietly beating their pruning hooks and the spears, or in the swords. Well, yeah, you know how the scripture go. They've been doing that over 2 decades. And so they're prepared. And as you say, the U.S. has just been warmongering for the past 6, 7 decades. I just go back to the second woke, which has been 80 years, roughly. 80-something years for 8 decades. They've been warmongering, and so now they're pretty much depleted. Even all the way up to supplying weapons to Ukraine and now to Israel. So it's just, yeah. I don't know. I'll just say this. That's a no-brainer, is to count the cost. Do we have sufficient to go to war? Just to go, not even to be victorious. Do we have enough to sustain a fight? And this should show you that America is set up for the fall. This place is set up to go down. But you got it out.
Okay.
Important juncture in the Ukraine war. So in my opinion, the upside to this depletion narrative is that we will not be able and we will not be willing to provide any material support anymore to Ukraine, which is good for us, not good for the Ukrainians, but it's good for us. As for the other side of the story,
well, it could be great for the Ukrainians because that means they're done. Like, I
should say,
take
right,
your
the
ball
Ukrainian,
and go home. We're done.
That's right. The Ukrainian regime, I should say, it's not good for the Ukrainian regime, which we've poured endless amounts of our money into, that we should not have. But so from the Ukraine angle, this actually might be good.
Right.
The downside, of course, is in terms of not just those precision-guided offensive munitions, the air defense interceptors, which we have relied heavily to protect both our bases in the Middle East, but also we've used it excessively. In fact, I was told yesterday by a source that the Israelis were astounded throughout the course of the war because we used more of our air defense interceptors to protect Israeli targets than the Israelis themselves used. And we actually were diverting the system.
Who does that? Who does that? You get an elementary school child to run a better war. This is crazy. But it's by design. You got it, brother.
God, and if bros ain't catch that what the other times about talking about, he said that even Ukrainians were surprised at the missile defense systems or missiles that we was using for them and not even for us. Even they was like, what y'all doing? Like, what y'all doing? And even think about that, because America will be obliterated with missiles. All of the defenses that they do have to so-called combat that, which they want to go do it anyway. Joe, the second shot. But now you don't need you depleted from even. That's why it makes sense that America will be obliterated in World War III, because now you don't have none to even try to defend, because you use it in little wars with Ukraine and the small hats.
Warmonger.
So you beat yourself in front of the world. So like, you got it.
No, that's it. I'm just saying you own it. That's right, bro. That's an excellent point. And remember, they had to go to South Korea to get a missile defense, or it was either a battery or a defense system that they had, given to South Korea, in case North Korea tried something. They had to go get it.
Yeah, they say we need it.
So that they running out. Go ahead, what you say?
No, so like I didn't mean to cut you off, Salaki.
No,
remember they had told them, they said, yeah, we gave it to y'all, but we go ahead, we need that back though. So and the South Koreans felt players like, damn, y'all could just take what But that's how America moving in the latter days.
In the last days. looking bad, man. Looking real bad. Go ahead,
away from our bases in the Middle East and those Arab states, we were diverting them to Israel to protect Israel. And the Israelis weren't even using theirs the way we were. One IDF general, apparently quipped to the source that I have over there, he said in March, he quipped to his team, he couldn't believe how wasteful the Americans were with their limited stockpiles of air defense systems. So even the Israelis were saying, what are the Americans thinking? Blowing through these stockpiles that they don't really have a lot of to protect us. They weren't even protecting the American bases. So anyway, my point is that we're not going to see these weapons coming back anytime soon because we don't have access to the rare earth minerals, and therefore there's no replenishment. So they're gone now. And what does that mean at the larger level? A lot of these weapons are essential for the U.S. to, if something were to happen, and I'm not saying it is, if something were to happen though in the Indo-Pacific with a war with China over the Taiwan, or war between China and Japan, or war between China and the Philippines, or some conflict, we would require the air defense systems and the precision guided standoff munitions to have any chance of protecting ourselves or rolling back whatever the Chinese are up to. And those systems are now in finite supply. They will not be tasked, I think, to any contingency because there's not enough of them and we can't replenish them because the Chinese are sitting on the rare earth minerals.
Boom. So America losing right now, and they can keep losing. I'm gonna play a little bit more, and then we can move on. So seeing Trump them back into a corner
here, and how are we going to see it hitting our economy?
Well, I told Mario Naufel, my buddy, today on his show, I said it twice now on his show, we don't have a deal. At best, what we're getting is a patch.
As Americans head into the summer months here, and how are we going to see it hitting our economy?
I'm gonna play it back a little bit more because the question was, what's the outlook pretty much for Americans head into these summer months?
Legitimate, laughing, of course, so no, clearly not. And then also, what happens to the U.S. economy? Your predictions have been spot on. Where do we go over the next few weeks as Americans head into the summer months here, and how are we going to see it hitting our economy?
Well, I told Mario Naufel, my buddy, today on his show, I said it twice now on his show, we don't have a deal. At best, what we're getting is a patch, a 60-day patch. And I think this is in response to the Trump administration clearly knows we are up a creek economically, that if they don't do something now to, however temporarily, which it would be temporarily, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, if they don't get that done quickly, then not only are we going to feel the economic burn for several months, probably the rest of the year, but they will collapse the economy. I'm talking about some combination of the worst parts of the Great Recession of 08 with the worst parts of the depression caused by the COVID lockdowns in 2020. And so you can sort of imagine how bad things are going to get if they don't even temporarily get the strait reopened. And I want to make this very clear because I've been following this very closely. The president, and you noted this with Larry before you went to break, the president and his team have become experts in goosing the markets, manipulating them for the day traders, for the speculators, basically, with the paper price of oil in particular. They're very good at manipulating the markets, and the markets are still falling for it. Not as much as they used to, but they still are falling for it. What I contend is that Trump knows he's reaching the end of that line. And he knows that if he doesn't get even a temporary reopening, then he's screwed politically because we have midterms coming up. So I think what they're going to try to do is drag out the pain with a 60-day ceasefire. And because there's no way, if you listen to what the president and his people have been saying, notice the Iranians haven't said anything. If you look at what the president and his people have been saying.
You got something?
No.
Okay, so like I thought I heard you.
This proposed deal. It's 60 days of reopening, no questions asked, reopening everything. And then at day 60, you got to sit down and negotiate Iran to get rid of your nuclear material. The Ayatollah, Mojtaba Khamenei, who watched his father and his little baby grandnieces get incinerated in the bunker at the start of the war, has said, under no circumstances will Iran give up whatever nuclear materials they have to the Americans. It is not going to happen. So unless this is really a hard bargain he's driving, which I don't think he is on this issue, 60 days, if we do get this ceasefire, 60 days are going to come, and then the president, Trump, is going to say, okay, we got to talk about the nuclear stuff, and the Iranians are going to flip him the bird, and then everything's going to deteriorate from there, and we'll either be back to having a shooting war or back to having the strait closed, or the Iranians will then impose their service fee system on the strait, which will, of course, completely destabilize the world economy, because now these companies that do business in the strait are going to have to price in whatever service fees the Iranians want to impose upon those ships, and if you're flat flagged from certain countries like Israel, the Iranians might say you can't come through at all. Or American allies might have to pay more than, say, China or Russia flagged ships. So this, I think we look at it, if the president does get some kind of a deal for 60-day reopening, it's a patch. It is not a peace.
And he keeps saying patch, which means it ain't gonna last. Right? According to prophecy, it can't last. The scriptures say, I think it's in Thessalonians, when they shall say peace and safety, then shall come sudden destruction, roughly paraphrasing. The way the world is headed, according to the Bible, it won't be peace between these nations. So he keeps saying a patch, and I think that's a good word to use because it ain't gonna stop nothing. It's gonna be ripped right back off and going back to war. So really everything Trump have been doing and saying, they really pump faking and making things work worse for themselves. That's it.
Deal. We are not ever going to get a peace deal, I do not believe, partly because the Iranians don't think they can trust us, but also, let's face it, we're not the ones on this side of the
I feel like a one more minute of it, Zaquan.
crisis deriving events. It's the Israelis, it's Netanyahu, and he does not want peace at all.
No, he wants regime change, and he wants.
I don't even think he cares about that.
And he going into Netanyahu because he said Netanyahu back against the wall. And I know you spoke on this before too, Elder Tazapah, but how if it do come, if a peace do come, and the small has stopped going to war, then now after war is done, now Netanyahu he gonna be brought up on charges himself. So that's why him and Trump can't stop going to war. So they both got it. They both being forced to do it. But the point is, we let it play a little over it. But the point he said they're gonna have to crash the economy. Something gonna have to happen in order for them to get out this corner that they're in. I might play this quick little video. You got something, Zaquan?
Nah, go ahead.
So I play this quick one. This from Alex Jones Network Live on rumble.com. Now the title says, it's a 2-minute video. The title says, former UK Prime Minister warns that the globalists are trying to drag us into a world war as an excuse to bring in their digital ID system.
Holy moly. My husband thought I was crazy when I started drinking bariatric soda every morning. Then
we've got to stop us being dragged into a big war, whether that's with Russia, China, or anybody else, because obviously the globalists and their puppet politicians will use that as an excuse to bring in the digital ID, because we always have ID cards when we have a war, don't we, Alex? You see, so that's they really need a war for 3 reasons: to cover up the lies that their puppets have told to us, the money they've stolen from us, and especially through the pandemic and since, the crimes that they've committed against us. And a war will sort all of that out, and everyone will forget about what happened during the COVID pandemic and everything else, and the net zero. I think that's why they're easing back on net zero now, because obviously net zero is completely incompatible. No one ever talks about the environmental cost of going to war, do they? Because there's almost like a hierarchy of sacred cows, and the military-industrial complex comes absolutely top, even above big pharma, because there's more money in it.
You see, so that was a quick little vid, but ultimately what he said is war and ultimately economic failure. These things are going to be used by the globalists to bring in a digital ID system, which ultimately is the MOTB system, man. We went into the video last week. The guy asked Richard Warner, he said, everybody talk about a CBDC, but what does it look like? And he went into explain it when it come, what it's going to look like. And he said, it's going to be a small digital grain of rice, the RFID seal, But again, these disruptions, wars, chaos, all these different things that's going around. You got these Chud the Builder, all these different things that's being built up are all being built up to bring in this digital system. And it's going to be accelerated after this, man. You had anything, Zaquan, before we continue?
Not yet. Go ahead.
Because behind closed doors, again, people focus on the war and these different things, these distractions. This is what Trump just did. It says, End Time Headlines put out June 2nd. Trump dodges AI rules for now by signing latest executive order. I'll read a little bit of it. So while everybody focus on all these other things, they accelerating and forwarding this system. It says Trump signs new AI executive order. The order aims to sustain and enhance America's global AI dominance. President Donald Trump signed a narrowed executive order focused on Blow it up some more. Focus on artificial intelligence and cybersecurity on Tuesday. The move comes quietly, keyword quietly, without the fanfare that often accompanies major policy announcements. The administration continues to navigate the complex balance between fostering AI innovation and addressing emerging national security risks. The order allows the White House to defer tougher decisions on regulating cutting-edge AI models while directing federal agencies to strengthen defense against advanced cyber threats powered by the technology. So we put on ChatGPT, you kind of explain it, and these are the key things that is going to bring forth. It says, number one, voluntary government review of AI advanced models. You know, over one time, it wasn't voluntary. These things had to get passed through different people and approved. Now they can kind of bypass that. We don't need all that no more. It says, two, no mandatory licensing or approval systems. See that? It says right here, earlier proposals reportedly consider stricter requirements, including mandatory oversight, but they don't need all that no more. Trump, the one who bought Operation Warp Speed, he's gonna be the one to accelerate and speed up this digital system. 3 says enhance cybersecurity efforts, and 4, focus on critical infrastructure. It says agencies such as the Department of Defense or the Department of War, Homeland Security, Commerce, that's buying and selling commerce, and Treasury are expected to evaluate how advanced AI could affect sectors like banking, healthcare, emergency services, and other critical infrastructure. That's the MOTB system.
Mm-hmm.
This is giving way for them to speed it up. So we also typed in, what does this executive law mean? Could they bypass legitimate law to forego an AI digital system? Now, one thing it said, where is it? Because they said not necessarily, but this the one that says critics worry that because when they do this, and matter of fact, let me go up. It was one part, because what they can do is they can start with this executive order can do, they can start working and putting like cybersecurity and cameras and AI systems out in public and using them before it's actually signed into law. That's another part of it. They can say testing it, right? You know, Esau, they're gonna say they testing it for right now, but without signing it into law. It says critics worry that government access to advanced AI models could expand over time. Temporary voluntary programs can sometimes be de facto standards, and AI oversight frameworks could eventually evolve into broader monitoring systems. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So again, they bypassing getting approved. They have to speak Revelation 12 and 12. The devil know he got a short time. He got to speed things up. And you was talking about, because we'll play these 2 Instagram vids, and we got a couple more and we got to wind it down. But you was talking about eminent domain earlier, and how, you know, Esau with Tampa over there in the Carolinas, when he sent that flood, a lot of people ain't want to move out their houses, so he just sent the flood through Hart and he moved. You see, and sent FEMA to clean it up. And you got it.
No, then we found out it was some type of mineral mine, you know, in the land, and this company moved in to set up shop. But go ahead.
Now that's it. I think it was lithium. It was something.
I can't remember. I believe it was. I think it was lithium. I believe it was.
Because remember, Jared Kushner, his company and them went up in there to get it. It was Jared Kushner.
Okay, I didn't remember that.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
It says, yes, there is indeed a massive and well-known lithium deposit in North Carolina, and that's what they hit. They went, yeah, but it was Jared Kushner and his people that went take care of that, and Palantir. I mean, not Palantir, but BlackRock.
Right. I think I do remember that. But this, I'm gonna go to Psalm 64. I'm gonna hit verse 2. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, who are the Edomites, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. All right, and this is what they're getting ready to do. They put all these things, like I said, with their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. And those words come in the form of legislation, dictates, as you brought out, executive orders. Those are words that they may shoot in secret. All right, but that it's always grievousness, which they have prescribed. And that's Isaiah 10:1. All right, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. The perfect are the children of Israel, those who are waking up to this truth, getting right in Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. It says, suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them? All right, so the data centers, AI, 5G, all of this is snares. It's one big snare, all right, broken into several components. But when the time comes, they all gonna join forces like like Voltron, and come together into one big massive snare, gene. Okay, so like it's a little bit more. Right. It says, yeah, right. They say, who shall see them? This is going into the secret council. This is the Council of Foreign Affairs, the WEF, the World Economic Forum. This is the Bilderberg, Council of 13, Council of 300, all these different councils. This is what they talk about. How to control the population. It says, verse 6, they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. But Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. All right. I'm gonna stop it right there. And you heard the guy in the previous video saying that they need war to distract from the lies, this inflation, all of the mess that they've purposely brought America to. So that was it, brother. You got it.
That's it. And again, they're gonna force the issue. So I'll play these two quick videos just to show these tech giants or billionaires with their data centers. They got plans to take over, and they don't care about the people. So you had this situation that happened in I think it was Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna play the vid. Yeah, Michigan. And they wanted to build a data center, and the town pretty much voted against it. So the tech giants said, "Oh yeah." So they sued them, and the tech giants got their way. And guess what? A data center about to be built there. So they moving on the people, man. They ain't got time to listen to the citizens and what the people want to do.
But a Michigan town with less than 3,000 people is going head-to-head with an OpenAI Oracle $16 billion data center.
Oh, and I had the video, I ain't got it up, but Sam Altman went out there. He was like, yeah, I know y'all don't like it pretty much, but we got to do it for the betterment of y'all. So he went, yeah, they told him we doing it.
September, the Saline Township Board voted to deny the project, and the Planning Commission had already recommended against it. Within a day of the denial, they got sued by the multi-billion-dollar developer, and they have an annual budget of around $1 million, so it could not realistically afford a long court battle. They were forced to settle, and just weeks later, the bulldozers were already rolling over the farmland. And just last month, the project secured $16 billion in financing to feed some of the biggest tech giants in the world. This is a side of the food system that's not pretty right now, as it means a quiet agricultural community has officially lost 250 acres of farmland. This AI revolution requires hyperscale AI data centers that drain community resources and take up valuable land that can be used for food production. You can see there are tons of localized farmers near Michigan that are trying to regenerate the land, which requires resources as well, but the problems come when sites like this sell at roughly 5 to 7x the fair market value that it would for farmland. We need to fight back because it is very possible to have an ecosystem like this, but right now what's happening is these tech companies are taking over prime agricultural land and permanently converting it for their use. I actually thought
that goes into, because you had just mentioned it. I can't remember how you worded it, but it's an AI race, because AI is the next field of battle. And so that brings a whole new light to Joel. What's that? The 3rd chapter, when it say, beating their plowshares and the swords and their pruning hooks and the spears. Because they to build these data centers, they're actually taking farmland. This guy out here, I believe it's in Texas, and he had cattle. He had thousands of acres. They just took it. They told him he had so in the week to get his cattle off the land, and they was gonna start building. You know, but right, the race is about, because the next frontier is data, and that's how war is gonna be fought. Well, Lord, we ain't gonna get there, but in their projections, you know, they want to be the top of the AI food chain, so to speak. All right, and this is the push for all the data. They got data centers for the data. That's the, you know, for them, that's their end all be all. You know, and so right, hey, and that's the epitome of pride, because what they're doing, as 2 Thessalonians stated, they're trying to play God using their technology. All right, and that's the epitome of pride. That, you know, and there's a whole religion around this shit with these elite and their technology, the AI and all of this. When the scripture says that cause them would not worship the image, it's gonna come. Well, we see how far the Lord let it go, but that's where they want to take this. They want you worshiping AI. They're gonna kill all the Jesus freaks, silence the Israelites. We know the famine of the hearing of the word is coming, and this is to be the new religion and the new God. This is their plans. But yeah, brother, you got it.
Kind of got a quick one for you. This is 2nd Ezra 15.
Oh, and that go into right quick, before I forget, that this transhumanism agenda. All right, that's them remaking man in their image, playing God. They saying we could do a better job in making man than the Heavenly Father did. And so that's why I say that's the epitome of pride. And you're gonna have people let this devil link them up to his technology. A lot of people. But that was it. Go ahead, Doc.
Real quick, second Ezra 15, because you mentioned that the AI race. You know, they racing to put up these data centers. This in their mind will be the new world war. And Trump and America keep saying that they got to be the leaders of it. And that's going to bring them into
Right.
actual World War III and a CBD system. Them trying to start a CBD C system. Real quick, second Ezra 15 and verse 14 in the GNT, it says, the world and the people in it are doomed. The war that will bring their destruction is very near. Nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations. There will be great political turmoil, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. And we often bring this out. It says one group is going to be political turmoil because one group will try to overpower another and gain control, be the leaders of the new digital AI, new world order. It says while ignoring the legitimate government. They go ignore what's been put in place. Treaties, we the people, you know,
Right.
things been signed
Constitution.
to law that's been
Yep. Go ahead.
you know,
Go ahead.
things
Go
that's
ahead.
it's like things that's been established. They don't care about the old law and the dollar. They trying to go digital. That's where they're gonna take it. And you know what it's gonna lead to? It's gonna lead to all out chaos because it says, while ignoring the legitimate government, and next it says, and there will no longer be free access to the cities because the struggle for power will bring. They're gonna be fighting to see who's gonna lead this new digital world. It's gonna bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live, driven by famine and terrible suffering. So look, the Strait of Hormuz closed. They got a lot of farmers complaining. You got in that article we read first, the El Nino weather events go destroy a lot of crops on top of the Strait of Hormuz closed. And then you got data centers being built where you can have farmland. It's about to be a famine as well, driven by famine and terrible sufferings, and people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. So that's what we're seeing now. The nations fighting against one another, see who's going to lead the new digital world, and that's going to drive them into World War III, which is going to be, well, before that, that's going to drive the people of the world into revolting, right? Civil wars. And once that, see, the people, they're gonna fight against the system. That's in Job. When it says when he think he about to fill his belly, you know, then the hand of the wicked go come upon him. That's this scripture right here. And then that's gonna lead to World War III, man. The CBD system, CBDC system, the MOTB system trying to be established by these nations gonna lead us into Jacob's trouble, and that's gonna lead us into World War III taking place, man. You know,
And even
and all
these
these things
intellectuals. That I hear people like Professor James, Shahid Bolson talk about civil war is gonna happen in America. You know, and you know, up until recently, maybe this year, maybe late last year, I've only heard Great Millstone talk about civil war, and maybe it's a few, fringe personalities on YouTube, some of the people we listen to, but it's becoming more mainstream, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now, with the whole Civil War thing, but that was it.
That's it. What else we had? Right. And so again, the point is though, as we see Esau on the front with war and all this, and he gonna do some things, gonna be false flags, is all leading to the CBDC system. Watch how it accelerate now that this executive order have been passed. So I'm gonna pull this out because the scripture in Revelation 13 says he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. This the bond right here from GBN News. It says microchip prisoners to track their movement 24/7. Tech bosses tell minister, and they ain't talking about a church minister, it's the minister of prisons. It says inserting microchips under prisoner skin to track their whereabouts has been floated as an idea within the government. It says subcutaneous tracking. I gotta see what that means. Subcutaneous. It means situated or applied under the skin. Yep, sub. Okay.
What
It
was the other
says
word?
Subcutaneous. It says
Oh, okay.
situated or applied under the skin.
Subcutaneous.
Yeah, subcutaneous. Yep. Hey, well, that's the R. That's the MOTB. Under the skin tracking was put forward by tech firms to Lord James Timpson, the prison minister, as a way of monitoring the movement and health of prisoners in real time. The proposal, and we're gonna read who was a part of this meeting. Right? It says the proposal was a part of wider discussion on technology-enabled justice system between the prisons minister and tech giants on what the future of incarceration could look like. These tech giants running rapid in earth. They running rampant in earth. And why they involved with everything? They military generals.
Right, and that's just that in itself is an ignorance of legitimate government.
Yep.
Because they not, how they get that type of clearance, like you said, to be up in the military. All right, government is bad enough, but in the military too. Right, that's how they, like you say, they just running amok, doing what they want. They throwing their weight around. And that's not government procedure. They doing things that you're supposed to be, or that the people's supposed to approve of. All right, and just like you say, the taking of the land. The people supposed to. The Constitution protects life, land, and liberty. I know they don't say it like that, but yeah, you're supposed to be able to. Well, I put it this way: nobody should be able to infringe on your property, especially government. And we see that they're doing that. And there's just all kind of ways that, these people is basically showing that it's a new day. There's a new sheriff in town. And they calling the shots. The old way that things were done will be done no more. All right. And this people gonna really understand when it hit them in the pockets. Because Esau got to hit a nigga in the pockets because he don't pay attention to nothing else. All right. And that's what's gonna make this mark so well, I put it this way, inescapable unless the Lord is dealing with you. All right. So it's really tied to the flesh. If Esau is a carnal man, and that's what it's going to come down to. All right. People get hungry enough, thirsty enough, sick enough, they're going to go get a chip. But it ain't going to take that for a majority of our people. It's just going to take for Esau to tell them, well, this is the new thing. All right. And it comes with $1,000 credit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, knowing that's your UBI, and you'll be getting that monthly. Or however much, I'm just throwing the number out. I don't, but right, on the heels of total financial collapse and ruin, runaway inflation, super inflation, that's going to look mighty good to a worldly, carnal man, woman, and child. All right, because people have not put off the old man. They have not exercised their spiritual nature, and all they've been doing is feeding that carnal man. So when the time comes, the corner man will not be denied. You know, but let me go and get Revelation 3. And then you got it, bro. I'm gonna read this right here. This is all right. Revelation chapter 3, verse 10. And hit this well, okay? It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. Because of that, you suffered for Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai's namesake. All right? Put up with that ridicule, the mockery, the shaming, the rebukes, the reprovals, the how the scripture worded, it's another word, but in all of that, you stuck with it. Being slandered, all of that, assaulted, and you stuck with it. You didn't let go of that plow. All right. So this the people the Lord is talking to. He said, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. Patience goes into suffering. All right. So you kept the word of the Lord's passion. You took on his passion, but to a lesser scale. All right, as it says, he told James and John, you will. How did he word it out? Because they were saying, which one gonna sit on your right and the left and the Lord? How did that go?
Yeah, he said, "Are y'all willing to drink of the cup?"
Drink of the cup, the what? Yeah, how he go say it out? Because he told him, yeah, you will assuredly drink it.
Yeah, you go for sure drink it.
Right, we're gonna have to put on the word of the Lord, patience. We're gonna have to get that cup. So the Lord said, because you have kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which is centered around the mark. All right. So that's when the whole system is totally collapsed, and the only way to do anything is with this mark of Revelation 13. All right, the MOTB. All right. That'll be the only way. And so that's the temptation. Do I go along with society? Do I follow a multitude to be evil? Or do I deny all of that for Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai's namesake? All right. And how you going to deny all of that for Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai's namesake, when you don't know Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai? So, right, this is to a specific people. And this proves that salvation ain't for everyone. Because all of those who get swallowed up in the temptation, they're going to die. And only people that will be kept from the temptation are those who kept the word of the Most High's patience. And that is only his elect. All right. And so, a little bit more. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. All right. The time of the chipping, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So the Lord that's how he's going to find those who are worthy. All right, because as Apostle Tahar stated, it's the Most High's mark, left on the left hand. He controlling all of this. But yeah, that was it, brother. You got it.
All right, that's it. We could wind it down. I finished reading this about chipping prisoners just to show you who involved. It says at the table were Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Palantir, IBM, and Circle. It says, who are a private prison operator in the UK, all attending an event put on by industry lobby group Tech UK. So again, expect to see these things, AI and the digital system accelerate, especially now that Trump signed an executive order. Another thing, we ain't gonna stay too long on this, but it says America's newest soldier is ready to be rolled out. They're actually talking about humanoid soldiers now, right?
Mhm.
And all these things in the chat too, if you want to read the full articles. But right, they've been positioned Ukraine bought 2 of them in 2024 and looking to get more. And it says less than 2 years later, the United States is advancing its own humanoid platforms for dangerous ground combat. The Phantom MK1, I pulled it up on the website. This is the Phantom MK1. There's him,
Mhm.
right? There's him. And then look at the things they can do. Check this out. It
2
says,
words.
where is that?
Jacob's trouble.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is why the Most High gonna have to lift up a standard. You're gonna have him walking around, big dog, walking around, drones in the air. But the Most High gonna lift up a standard, and certain brothers, he'll gonna go toe to toe. You might see a brother that rip an android apart, ragdoll android. But yeah, you got it out.
Yep, and check. They look. Some people say, "Man, that's cool, man. That look cool." Watch what they could do. It says, the first known all robot assault using wheeled and tracked ground robots equipped with machine guns and
Mhm.
explosive charges.
Ooh, damn.
Come on, man. So, oh, and I had to ask it too. You know, all these things, because they were saying, well, and they just gonna be used, you know, to be sent in warfare, so you don't have to send people. I had to go to Google. I said, can armored stormtroopers, because that's what they said this was gonna be used for. Where is that in the article?
You know,
It said there
China
was gonna
put
be
one on the street. A cop. They got they was trying out experimenting with a android cop on the beat. You know, walking the beat. So China already using them. But yeah, that was it.
kind. And it says they're gonna be the new armed troopers. So I said, can armored stormtroopers be used on American citizens? And it said yes. Yes. Where is it? It says the few things that can allow it is Insurrection Act, or some type of civil war. So again, when all hell break loose, Esau gonna use AI and these new digital weapons.
Damn.
A lot of stuff about to be forced just to bring on the system. We keep saying it because that's the point. I play this little. It's like 2 minutes of this video, Zaquan, and that's it. That's it. Con. So the title of this from Patriot.tv on Rumble. It says CBDC, chaos, control, and collapse.
Project called the Blueprint for the Future Monetary System, Improving the Old and Enabling the New. So what is a unified ledger? So unified ledger records the ownership of all assets, checking accounts, real estate, bonds, stocks, cryptocurrency, gold, silver, basically everything in a centralized exchange run by the globalists, right? And all assets will be tokenized. So tokenization simply means pulling everything in together into one little packet, right? So that's kind of encrypted, right? So nobody's supposed to know how to do it. So way to explain that in layman's terms is if anybody has the Apple card, right? That credit card that Apple has, and on your Apple wallet, if you were to look up the credit card number, it's just a bunch of random numbers. You have to press a button that gives you a real credit card number, right? So it uses a proxy numbers so people don't know what it is. But in the blockchain world, like Bitcoin is tokenized. So when it's decentralized, this actually means it's immutable. You can't change it. You can't reprogram it. So tokenization on a decentralized distributed ledger with no centrally controlled authority is very safe.
Right, and it's like kind of how Bitcoin is now. Now we about to go into what they need to do and what they're trying to do.
That's like Bitcoin. Now, what they want is the opposite. Under a centralized distributed ledger, basically, when programmable tokens means you don't own that asset anymore. All of your assets that have been put into the system on this unified ledger, you basically give up your ownership, and it's programmable. They can cut you off from ever using it, if you step out of line with the narrative that they want you to have. See, this all is going into effect September of 2024, right? Because under this
And that's a
new
lot of things went
UN
into effect really in 2020. You know, it started, but
Right.
the foundational things that they needed, that's what they recently started doing for the CBDC system. You know, he kind of just highlighting that. But check them out.
legislation or UN plan that they have in store for us, it's biometric digital IDs tied to your bank account. This is their goal, right?
Yep.
I mean, this is worse than CBDCs because it's full on. They want this unified ledger. They want complete control over all of your assets where they can cut you off from buying or selling. Now they're bragging about it, right? And they're saying this can be used to stop drug trafficking, human trafficking. It can be used to stop money laundering, all this other stuff. But one other element that they added to this, Jeffrey, is a dangerous one. And that is they brought into the concept of central bank digital currency and programmable money timing of the use of funds, which what does that mean and why is that important? So let's just say you had $100,000 in your bank account and they said, okay, Prather, by December 31st, you have to use all of it or it's going to expire worthless. It's a digital entity. It's a digital entry. You have to use it or it's gone. Right? It's like, wait a second. And they will do that to try to stimulate the economy. They also do that to keep you enslaved into their digital credit and debit system moving forward because there's no mechanism for saving. There's no mechanism for building a nest egg, a retirement. And that's how they want you. They want you constantly, year after year after year, to be dependent upon them with no mechanism for holding money long term, because they have a timetable programmable element of the money where it will expire worthless. It's like you use it or lose it. See, this is the world that we're now living under. And 3 months ago, half of this wasn't there. This is moving at a supernatural clip right underneath our nose. And you being a constitutionalist, right? It's like, let's say that you were the president.
Gotta play that back. This is how fast it's moving. And again, that's prophecy. And I'll get that Revelation 12 real quick, if you don't mind. But that was it, Zaquan. But again, a lot of stuff we about to see, it wasn't here just a couple months ago. And now they're about to even fast track it from here on. From here on, man.
Major. And
let me get that Rev 12 real quick. And Shalom to all Akim Akwath that's tuning in. Yahweh Shemel Shabrakatham. I see the El Dr. Zario and Shalom, Yahweh Shemel Shabrakatah. And I see
Shalom Zaquan, Yahweh Shemel Shabrakatah.
See the Elder Yahshua Matui, Yahweh Shemel Shabrakatah. And I wanted to bring this up. Kind of brother Bama locked the water too. With the North Carolina thing and lithium, that was Kamala Harris' husband. Remember that? That was her husband tied to that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the water.
Because I said Jared Kushner. So like I had said Jared Kushner, but it was Kamala Harris' husband. So the water to that brother Bama lock.
Right. Con.
But I read this real quick. And again, that's the MOTB system, man. That's the end game. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, the so-called white man, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So he got to accelerate his plans. And as he try to speed up the plans, he's going to start forcing things, and that's when it's going to collapse. That's when it's going to collapse on him, man. Just like Haman tried to start forcing stuff and collapsed on him. But no, that's it, Zaquan. You got it, though. I ain't nothing else.
Shit.
I didn't know if you had anything.
No, them two videos are a good segue for that little 4-minute clip. I
Oh, I
see
got
what
it,
you
though.
were saying. I see what you were saying earlier, because they were speaking about the different companies. Well, with the prison one, I see what you were saying.
You want to play it?
Yeah, just let it play, because
Okay, Con,
they
let's
all
go.
go together.
Con, that's spot on. Matter of fact,
All
I'll
right.
read this for you again real quick, and we can play it just to show who was all at that round table talking about that
That
prisoners
was
need to
right.
be chipped.
They was going in.
Talking about prisoners being chipped. This is who I was at the table talking about. It says at the table were Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Palantir, IBM, and Circle. Right? It says which is a private industry lobby group called Tech UK that got these people together. But I'm gonna play this video right here that Elder Tazapah had found or had, and then he gonna go into the different. Well, you can explain this, Laquan.
Yeah,
Or you
I
just
mean,
want to play it.
he's gonna break down how all these corporations fit together in this one big control grid. He just going into it, and it's a little involved, but I mean, you can follow it. You know, I premiered this video in my lesson earlier today. But yeah, shit, it's self-explanatory.
Okay.
Behind digital ID. I've mapped it out. The top 4 are the UN, are the entities and the forces behind digital ID. I've mapped it out. The top 4 are the UN, the WEF, the World Bank, and the ID 2020. Let me take you through it. So the first main culprit who kind of started a lot of this is the United Nations. They have Sustainable Development Goals, and in 16.9, they state by 2030, they want to provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. These UN agencies want to frame digital ID as necessary to participate in the digital economy to access services. This is how they're going to lock you in. Now, the UN is working closely with the World Bank. The World Bank has a program called Identification for Development, or ID4D. This promotes biometric digital ID systems for low and middle income countries. They're always going to start with them because it's easier to get them to comply and to roll it out. And they'll gradually work their way up to the first world countries. The top donors of this program, the usual suspect, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the UK government, the French government, Norway, and the Ahmadiyar Network.
Now,
This
that
was
article
created
was from they was talking about the UK, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, it's tying in. Go ahead, brother.
of philanthropy, but they have a goal to hardwire humanity toward a digital future. That sounds lovely, doesn't it? ID4D, it has a partnership with the United Nations and the WEF and the Euro Commission and the GSMA. This was an interesting one. It is the Global System for Mobile Communications. It is an association, a nonprofit, that represents mobile network providers' interests. It's a digital ID for your phone that'll eventually progress probably to a microchip that is implanted in you. Step 1, get it on the phones, get you used to having a digital ID.
Yeah, that's hard hitting right there, but why just a little bit. God. God.
Yeah, play that one more time, right?
Global System for Mobile Communications. It is an association, a nonprofit, that represents mobile network providers' interests. It's a digital ID for your phone that'll eventually progress probably to a microchip that is implanted in you. Step 1, get it on the phones.
Now,
Get
that
you
line up with the video you played last week when he went into digital ID. He said at the heart of it, or something to that effect, he said at the heart of digital IDs, or the CBDCs, is the digital ID. And they say the digital ID is something, it's going to eventually, is going to be in 4 steps, and it's going to go to the chip.
Yep.
I believe that's how he said it. But that lined up with the video from last week. You remember?
Yep, that's what he said. Richard Warner.
But you got it.
Yeah, because ultimately he was saying like always saying like the data centers and everything is steps, but the last step of this whole system, whether you want to call it digital ID, CBDC, the last step of them going digital, the end goal is to put a chip in everybody. He said that.
That's what he said. You know? Yep. You got it.
your phone that'll eventually progress probably to a microchip that is implanted in you. Step one, get
And it's June.
it on the
And
phone.
it's June, baby.
Used to having a digital ID on your mobile phone. And so the GSMA is part of this whole partnership. Next, we come over to the WEF, the World Economic Forum. They are considered the main thought leader when it comes to digital ID. And the WEF sets the global agenda for the frameworks of what they roll out. Now, you can look through their white papers and the reports. I've listed them here if you want details. Now, one thing to note with the WEF, Larry Fink, probably a name you've heard of, especially when it comes to the Trump administration. He is a board member of the WEF, but he also happens to be the CEO of BlackRock. And he also is part of Trump's inner circle. Trump has aligned himself with the technocrats, the billionaires, the globalists. Trump will be part of rolling out the digital ID. He's not going to stop it. The last
And just to add real quick, Zaquan, remember Trump just went to China. He took tech giants with him. You know, people of Google and these different industries. He took them with him. Why?
Yep.
You know, is the question.
Good point.
entity is ID 2020. This is a US-based NGO alliance. It's a nonprofit. Okay, it was formed in 2014. Again, this goes back years and years and years in the planning. Their goal is to promote privacy protecting digital ID that's aligned with the UN Strategic Development Goal. This ID 2020, this alliance is a public-private partnership with all the major corporations. We're talking your big tech corporations, your big healthcare organizations, your big IT infrastructure organizations, your big financial institutions as well. I just listed out a few, but I wanted to highlight Microsoft, Accenture, Gavi Vaccine Alliance, and MasterCard. So out of ID 2020, Gavi and MasterCard, and Gavi is the Vaccine Alliance, they partnered to create a digital vaccine record to track children in underdeveloped countries. It uses MasterCard's technology. Gavi is the vaccine passport part of the digital ID. Gavi has an alliance with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the WHO, UNICEF, and World Bank, and others. Now, Gavi says clearly that digital ID innovation is central to its mission. Digital ID identification is central to the mission of a vaccine alliance. Let that sink in. The next partnership that came out of ID 2020 is Microsoft and Accenture, founding alliance partners of ID 2020. Together, they built a blockchain-based identity prototype using biometrics and blockchain to give undocumented people digital ID. And of course, there will be many more steps to come where all the infrastructure railways are aligned to connect everything you do, say, are, buy, sell, whatever, online, whatever is digital, it's all connected to you. But these are the four main players behind it: the UN, the World Bank, the WEF, and ID 2020.
And see, what's the big deal with
The
the
entities
vaccines? So he talking about
mapped
the
it out.
vaccine alliance.
The UN, WEF, the World.
Salak, you got it,
And
Zaquan.
the reason they mention in the vaccines because that's just the name that they call it. This is actually what they call it. It's a term. I almost want to say, oh, gone. It's basically DNA changing. It's fitting your body with this technology. Is what we've been telling you. What the initial COVID was all about. All right, that's what he was talking about. That alliance, Gavi and MasterCard, and Gavi handles the vaccine identification and all of that. Right, so they can know who has the tech and who don't. Because you got to have this tech, and your body has to be fitted for this stuff. So that's a major part why they're talking about vaccines. It's really not vaccines. All right. It's technology, kind of like the term I was thinking with gene therapy, but it's a gene modification and DNA modification. So you can become that, or you could take part in transhumanism. You can be transformed. They're gonna do it by way of these injections. That's what the scripture telling you. Stigma, charagma. There's gonna be something inserted.
I got one challenge.
And we just thought it was gonna be one, but they're gonna keep on inserting you.
Mm-hmm.
Once you initially get the mark, it ain't gonna stop till you drop. You know, a vaccination supposed to be one-time thing and you good. I'm good now. I done had my vaccine. I'm straight. What the hell they keep pushing vaccine? Because it's not a vaccine. But anyway, that was it, brother. You got it. We can get up out of here. I ain't got nothing else.
Kind of the
You
end
got
goal is
something?
that I was about to say that the end goal is that subcutaneous mark as the new one, you know.
You gonna start using that one, huh?
Yeah.
You got yeah, drop that on them.
God,
Yeah, don't get that subcutaneous.
God.
All right, brother.
Nah, that was it. We see as it's saying Joel, man, he trying to fulfill his new world order, and when he think he about to make it happen, that's when everything gonna go wrong, man. We right there at the cusp of that, man, to where we gonna watch everything fall and crumble. All his plans over these decades, you know, it's just gonna fold at the end. And that's what we're excited about. We telling him the end game, and he trying to tell the world, you know, get him a smoking mirror, but we here seeing the real
That's
picture,
it,
man.
Yeah, he trying to blow smoke up the world ass.
Yeah. But that was it though.
Well, with that being said, we pray that you all was edified, and the water to you all for joining us too, tuning in to the Thursday Watch live, you know. But yeah, we're gonna give all praises, honor, and glory again unto Yahweh. Double honor to our elders, apostles, and bishops of Great Millstone, as well as the men that raised them up spiritually. All right. And peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Y'all stay strong. Keep fighting. All right. We ain't got too much more longer. Hey, the Lord coming back. You know, we'll be at rest before you know it. So just hang in there. And to the next one, much love and shalom.
Hey, shalom. The water for tuning in.